How do you decide which items to sell on the different platforms?
A lot of people don't sell shoes on there, but since I started with shoes, I kind of just learned from that.
What do you do with the returns?
Overall, on the return structure, I have usually 3 bins in my storage space, and I'll have...
What are the benefits of cashback?
There are ways to really maximize the cashback. It's just knowing that BQool is the best for me because of the price point. That's the best way to jump in and do it.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, BQool invited Mike Tona, a newer Amazon seller that was able to reach $1 million in sales in less than a year. And he has a Discord group called the FBA Secrets with almost over 3,000 students with like-minded individuals. We'll be covering some of the hottest topics on Amazon, as well as doing a live demo of how Mike sets his min and max prices from Keepa. Let's welcome Mike to our channel today.
How's it going, guys? Thank you so much for having me.
Mike, I want to ask you if you could introduce yourself for the people who don't know you yet.
Yeah, so for those who don't know me, my name's Mike. A lot of people don't even realize what my first name is, which is really funny. I go by my last name, which is Tona. All of my socials are TonaFBA. I'm pretty much on every single social platform with the same exact name. So if you want to find me somewhere, just plug that in. But yeah, a little bit about myself. So I've been doing Amazon about since June of 2022. I actually made my account in February of 2022, but I did a lot of people don't realize I did like a good 3 to 4 months of just deep diving into YouTube and researching Amazon FBA before I even bought a product, before I even like bought software or researched anything. And that's kind of just how I got started. I had some friends that did it. I kept seeing their posts and just started watching it all the time and just looking at, YouTube posts, Twitters, and just like all the other content creators and slowly learn from there.
I'm curious, why did you decide to sell on Amazon? Like, did you sell on other platforms before?
Yes. So I was a big sneaker reseller since college. So I've been doing it since like 2016, selling shoes. I used to sell on eBay. Locally, I would sell to just like bulk buyers for shoes. I did a lot of like sneaker botting, which was just using like really advanced software to, buy hot sneakers on big drop days on, the Nike app, the sneakers app, all the other, Foot Lockers, Eastbays, like all those types of sites. And I would end up getting sometimes 1 pair, sometimes 200 pairs. And I pretty much sold most of my shoes through local buyers, sneaker shops, eBay, StockX, Goat, all those types of sites. And then one of my friends was like, hey, like I sell on Amazon. You should like take a look at it. And that's what pretty much started my research.
Now, how do you decide which items to sell on the different platforms?
Great question. I don't like selling rare shoes on Amazon because there's a lot of nitty gritty with Amazon. Buyers will try stuff on because they have a try it before you buy it policy, which allows buyers on Amazon to, wear it, see if they like it, return it. Kind of like if you went to just a regular like running store and you wanted to try the shoes for like around the store, except Amazon customers might actually wear it out and about and then return it, which is the worst part about the platform. So a lot of people don't sell shoes on there, but since I started with shoes, I kind of just learned from that. And I realized all the rare stuff, like the Travis Scott shoes, the $2,000 shoes, the $1,000 shoes, that goes to local buyers, sneaker shops, people that are just paying me up front for it, where there's no risk. But the smaller, like, the smaller buy cost items that are like, $50 shoes that people generally know what they want. And I stick to like men's shoes because men usually know what their size for all shoes. If it's a toddler shoe, parents don't really realize what their, toddler's foot size is sometimes, or they just grow really rapidly. So you kind of learn from that experience. And that's what I did when I started Amazon. So you kind of figure out what's sold where. And I realized a lot of men's and women's shoes are better on Amazon and maybe more the lower cost items, like running shoes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. Like for toddlers, they might have to try a lot of different pairs of shoes before they pick the right one. And then, for men, maybe women as well, like you might know exactly which shoe you want because you've already tried it in the store. And then so when you see the deal, you just want to order that pair of shoes in. Now, I want to ask you, how much money did you start with on Amazon?
So liquid capital, like straight cash, I probably started with a couple $1,000s, maybe like $3,000. And this is a huge question in the community. I hear it all the time in my Discord. Everyone's just like joining the Discord, and that's like the first question people ask, which is really funny. And I try to tell people, especially like the younger crew, to think really hard on it and just like don't jump into Amazon. If you have $3,000, try to save up a little bit more. If you're a little bit on the older side and you have a sense of, or if you have like credit and you know how to manage your credit, you have a good credit history, you can venture into using credit. And that's kind of what I did. I had probably $2,000 or $3,000 of liquid cash, and I also used business credit cards since I had my sneaker business and my LLC set up. And that's probably a good amount to start with. I know a lot of people will say like, $500 is good to start with, but generally the more the merrier, the easier it is to scale with more money. But obviously if you're brand new to it, take it slow and don't rush it.
So Mike, with shoes, we're looking at probably at least $50, $60 per pair. So if I was to start, I have $3,000, I can't really get that many pairs of shoes. I could probably only get 60 pairs of shoes. And they're more risky as well because there's also fluctuations. So how do you manage the capital for this more capital intensive for the sneaker business if you're selling it online?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So my average buy cost is kind of right spot on with what you said. It's around $60 for the shoe side of things. Obviously, I sell like other beauty products, healthcare, personal care type stuff, which is obviously, in the $10 range, $15 range. But with shoes, it gets very expensive. It does get capital intensive. And if you don't know how to manage your cash flow, it's going to obviously hurt you because if you don't know, and you'll probably know around now if you start selling that check-in times are very slow around Q4, around the holidays. It's a lot slower. Amazon gets swamped. So by the time you buy the item, it goes to your prep center or to your home, you ship it to Amazon. It might take, 2 to 3 weeks for them to get it and 4 weeks before the item to sell, which a lot of people generally say like, oh, you can get it to sell faster. Maybe in Q1 or Q2 in the summer, you can get your funds back quicker. Which will help with cash flow. But if it's around, the holiday, it might take 6 weeks for those funds to come back into your account. So managing your cash flow is super, super important for a beginner seller, which is kind of why I had business credit cards to start. I used the Amex Blue Business Cash Card, which obviously read the terms, read all of that stuff first because things do change. Just a disclaimer for anyone that watches this. I believe it's still a 0% APR card, and I have recommendations and all that kind of stuff of what I used in my Discord if you want to take a look at it. But it's a 0% APR card for 12 months, which basically gives sellers a low risk with spending. So if they give you a 5K limit and you have $1,000, you could put some of the money on the credit card. And since it's a 0% APR for 12 months, you don't generally have to pay it off for a month or 2 or 3 months. You have technically 12 months, but this gives you some 2 to 3 month gap to get those funds back, pay it back off, and then rinse and repeat. And obviously over time, you're going to, get more net profit and you're going to improve that sell through speed because it's all about just higher turnover. You want the items to sell right when they get there. You don't want to overbuy, because there's a whole bunch of inventory surcharges and stuff like that. And there's a lot of hidden fees that people don't really know about with Amazon.
For more details, definitely go check out FBA Secrets, which will have more information about the different ways to manage your capital. I want to ask a shoe question because you're an expert on this. What do you do with the returns, right? Because my understanding for, you could probably get 25%, even maybe 20% returns for the shoes. Like you said, like people buy this shoe, they wear it for whatever reason. Myself, I was trying out a pair of Nike Scorpions recently, Scorpio, whatever that name is. But then I thought they were really nice and they look really stylish. But then once I wore it for after 5 minutes, my feet start hurting. And so I didn't buy it at the end, even though it was a big discount. So yeah, what do you do with the returns?
Yeah. So going back on the return rate, mine's roughly like depending on the specific product. Like you said, some shoes hurt. Some shoes, like an Air Force One, everybody knows, like every guy knows what size they are in an Air Force One. Especially if it's like if you're selling a size men's 11, unless it's a kid who's still growing and he's going to like a size 12 or 13. Generally, the returns will be a little bit on the lower end, but it depends. If they get creased, if someone wears it and returns it and the next buyer gets it, you never know what's going to happen. But going back on that original question, my return rates are roughly in the 10 to 15% range. So you do need to kind of factor that into your potential margins because you're obviously paying for the labels, you're paying for a return, you're potentially paying for a damaged piece of inventory if it comes back muddy, especially or just worn or just it smells or something, or they return the wrong shoe, which happens a lot. People are, not the nicest people that return these products sometimes, and you do need to factor that into your numbers. So if you're getting, a 40% ROI, at the end of the day, it might end up being a total of 20% ROI because of the returns and damaged inventory. So I have a pretty good system with this. When I get returns, you get the slips. You obviously need to make sure you keep the slips and the box that it comes in because you can get reimbursed. The people don't realize you can get reimbursed if Amazon sends you the wrong item back, because technically it's their fault for not checking that the buyer sent you the wrong item back. So make sure you're on top of that. Or maybe if you have a warehouse worker, if you start to scale up and you have someone that wants to manage it, you can actually take photos of the LPN label, the items, the box, and submit that via a case. And you can get a partial reimbursement for that. But overall, on the return structure, I have usually 3 bins in my storage space, and I'll have returns that come back in, brand new condition, ones that are pretty much just on the bin. It'll say like relist. So they're just brand new. They can get relisted back on Amazon. And then I have a second category where it's like kind of used, where I can potentially clean it and relist it, or throw them on eBay or, a garage sale or something like that. And I have a third bin, which is basically a donation bin, which you can write off donations as an expense. Obviously, consult a CPA for all that kind of knowledge. Not financial advice, obviously. But the third way, donating, is probably a very easy way of just getting rid of all the damaged stuff. Even if it's like the wrong item that gets returned and you're like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know where to sell this. I don't even want to try to like list it on eBay. Just donate it. And that's probably the best way to go about it. But those are the 3 methods I do with returns.
That's really good advice, like to categorize them, see which ones get relist, which ones you can sell on other platforms, and which ones to donate.
Mm-hmm.
You talked a little bit about scaling up just now. What are some tips that you have for you to be able to, reach $1 million in less than a year?
So it's a tough question to kind of answer. So it really kind of depends. It's kind of a loaded question because it really depends on your capital. The more you have, the easier it is to scale. If I gave you 100 grand to play with on inventory today, and you're operating on 20% margins at the end of the day, you can make a good, 20K in a month. And if your inventory is selling every, 45 days, you're making 20K every 45 days if it's selling through. Now, if you're a high schooler who's watching this and you're fresh out of high school and you're like, I want to do this while in college and use a prep center, but you only have 2 grand, you might only make 400 within that 45-day span, or it could be a 30-day span. It depends on when your items sell. So obviously you have to kind of learn and see what items sell quicker. Don't overbuy. That's like one of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of people do. They're like, oh, this item is really good. The ROI is 50%, and they buy 100 of them, and they don't realize it sells 10 a month. And now they're stuck with 10 months of inventory that they can't return. So that's a good way of just, it's like kind of the opposite. So it's like, it's not going to make you scale, but it's going to help you potentially not screw up. And then obviously the business credit cards, like we talked about before, that's going to help people scale. But obviously credit cards are a little bit of a dicey subject. I don't like telling people to do like with their money. Like I don't want to tell people what to do with it, but if you have access to more capital and you start learning it, scale slowly. That's the biggest thing I always tell my students and my like mastermind group. Don't, like, if you find a great item, don't go super deep on it. Learn the data first. Get into Amazon. I'd say my biggest buy into Amazon was like 6 months in. I was still buying like test buys like leading up until it.
So start smaller. You know, you could
Mhm.
go you could go wider, but
Go
not
wider
deep
on your ASINs. Yeah.
on your
Go
ASINs,
wide,
and
not
then
deep. Yep.
definitely test it out to make sure that it sells, it's profitable before you go all in. With 100 pairs of shoes, and then difficult. You have a bunch of inventory you have to get rid of. What are the benefits of cashback, and where can you get the best cashback?
Great question. So there's a lot of ways to kind of like discount with cashback or discounted gift cards, which people don't talk about that often. But regarding the cashback, I like using a few different Chrome extensions. I have 3 Chrome extensions that I use. There's Rakuten, there's Top Cashback, there's Capital One Shopping. They're all Chrome extensions that are free. You just need to make an account. Now, they all have their different terms of service policies, which I suggest people read through, because sometimes you'll place an order for 20 items and you'll ask for the cash back and you'll toggle it and they'll actually deny it. And within their terms of service, it'll be like, oh, your quantity was 20. So we actually didn't approve of this. So there are ways to really maximize the cash back. And it's just knowing the rules. Some accounts, Top Cashback isn't as, strict on some policies as Rakuten might be. But if you're going to spam 20 orders, having multiple accounts or multiple cashback providers and spreading it out across is the best way to get 100% of it to come through and get paid out to you. And another, not financial advice, but I'm pretty sure cashback is not taxed because it's essentially like a kickback and it's just free funds back into your account. It's like a rebate. Obviously consult someone for that correct answer. But yeah, cashback's a very, very good way. I've probably made well over 5 figures in cashback in the past year, which is a great way to save money and just reinvest.
One of the things that a lot of our customers have told us is that they get suspended from their cashback program. Like Rakuten would suspend them. Honey would, how do you avoid getting suspended? Yeah, so you can actually get your money back.
So I do have some secrets about that, hence why I call my program FBA Secrets. But I will share, obviously, one of them, which is just having multiple accounts. You could just, put it under a different Gmail. You can, jig the website and just have it under a different. For example, for Rakuten, there's 3 payout strategies. There's direct deposit, there's PayPal, and there's MX points. So you can essentially make 3 accounts and have 3 different payouts. And, make the address a little bit different. And this does work. Hopefully Rakuten doesn't watch this and, suspend my account. But I have been suspended from Rakuten before, and they have released my funds, and my account still works. They don't like people that resell. It's in their terms of service. So going back on what I said before is when you spread it across different providers, there's like hundreds of cashback providers, and you can use the website. I believe it's called cashbackmonitor.com, and it shows like the top cashback for each retail website. They have like 20 or 50 providers. So you can have the Rakuten Chrome extension. You can have Top Cashback, Hoopla Dupla. You can have Honey. There's so many good ones that offer really high percentages for cashback, but just having a few of them on maybe your laptop and then maybe having a couple different ones on your PC. So if you're, out at a coffee shop sourcing, you're on one account. And then when you're at home on your other computer or your phone, you're on a different account. So it spreads the orders across. And I like
That's
telling
really
people
intelligent.
to do it that way.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, using different IPs, different accounts,
Devices.
And
Yep.
if you want more information, you heard what Mike said. Join his Discord group, FBA Secrets, because these are some secrets that not everybody knows. People with experience, people who hit $1 million, who built a beautiful business. This is what they know. Now, let's move on, Mike, and let me ask you about what's the biggest benefit of using a repricer?
Higher volume of sales, 1 billion%. I think sellers are very slow to making that investment in a repricer. Like I remember when I first did it, I was like, I don't want to spend $50 or $100 a month on a repricer. And then I'm like seeing other sellers like that have like crazy sales volumes, like 200 items sold in a day. And I'm like, you just started. Like, how is he doing that? And it's like someone that's doing similar, you know, buying like me and similar capital and like in the kind of the same space that I'm in. And a lot of the time it came down to like, I just didn't have a repricer in the first month or two. I think I got it around month 2. And I used the free trial for a few of them. And I think that's a great advice for a beginner too. A lot of them are free trials. Some of them are short, some of them are long, but obviously BQool was the best for me because of the price point. There's multiple price points for all types of sellers, and that was the best part about it. So even a beginner seller can start out and pay, I believe your lowest fee right now, it's $25 a month. And on top of that, the free trial, which is a no-brainer. And that's the best way to kind of jump in and do it, because you're going to see a big volume jump in speed for sales. And mainly it's because like when you get to a few different ASINs, manually repricing them just doesn't make sense. It takes up a lot of your time. And then people are like, oh, I want to hire a VA to do that, which is a terrible strategy. I think doing your own repricing is like one of the biggest things for a business owner. And then teaching someone how to do it after that.
Mike, let me add that for BQool, we also don't need your credit card when you start, which is a huge advantage for people. So there's absolutely no risk. People could try for 14 days. And usually within a day, people see immediate results. Yeah, within even 30 minutes when they put something on, and it will just keep on adjusting the price because if you value your time at more than, let's say, $12, $13 an hour, then using a repricer is a no-brainer. Yeah, and on top of that, I believe you have to talk to an accountant, but you could probably get a repricer as a deductible expense in your business operations. But you talk to an accountant about that. It's different for everywhere. Now, Mike, let's go into some examples. I want to pick your mind to see how you would set mins and max. So I'm going to be sharing a couple of products, and we can discuss them of how you would set the min and max, and also what kind of repricing rule you'll set it on. Are you ready?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
So, Mike, we are in Walmart here. I found a product that was on clearance, and it's at $244.99. I actually have the product here. These Sony headphones, they're a competitor of Bose and other nice noise cancellation. And I'm not promoting Sony or anything, but I'm just telling you these are good headphones. And so these are $244.99 right now. There's also different variation, different colors here. And then on Amazon, when we purchased them, they were around $340, but now it's dropped to $264.99. And then in the Keepa chart here, this is what it looks like in the Keepa chart. So, Mike, if you were evaluating how to set the price for this item, so this is about setting the prices. It's not about purchasing. Whether you purchase, we already purchased it. This product sells, according to Keepa, 5,000 times a month. So it is a fast seller. And we could see that right now. There's about 15 different offers. It has gone down a little bit. This is pretty strange. It's jumping 5, 18, 15, 18. And then the price seems to be going up and down here for the last 3 months. If it was you, how would you decide what to set the price for? And we're going to make the assumption that when we look at the buy box statistics, that this buy box is actually being shared by different sellers. So that's the assumption that we're making here. And then if we look at Amazon, Amazon is actually This item, they're actually in stock. So Amazon's is in stock 99% of the time. So when you're sourcing, that might be a red flag. But let's say you've already got the product. I guess Amazon isn't really sharing it too much. So in this scenario, if somebody is to face this scenario, what would your advice be? How should they set their min and max? And let's make the assumption they have 5 items. They have 5 in stock.
Okay. So just for clarification, given that this is a shared buy box, that obviously if there's something 99% of the time with Amazon, I would probably stay away from it because they're going to hog it. Unless it's selling 100,000 times a month and there is some some sales to go around. But given that it's spread out across, numerous sellers, the buy box is pretty shared. And given that we're buying it at a cheaper cost where it does make it, profitable. I don't have a profit calculator, obviously, like in my head, but let's just say for the sake of it, we bought it at a profitable price. Let's say we got it for $200 and it sells for, it looks like it's selling for roughly 280 right now or 265 right now. But you can kind of look back and it seems like they might just match, other competitors. Amazon does tend to do that a lot, especially with Black Friday sales probably going on soon. They might be dropping their prices to match that. So you might have to wait it out in case of, post Black Friday sales. But how I'd probably set my repricer is it looks like the majority of the past, few months, it's been stuck around 350. So I'd probably set it, I believe, what is that, 348 or 350?
Yeah, 348. You're right. Yeah.
So given that we only have 5 in stock, if your credit cards are paid off and you have the ability to hold this item, which is a huge factor for some sellers. If you're trying to get rid of it and you have to get rid of it at a lower ROI, then you can obviously price down and do that if it's profitable. But given this graph right here over the past, 1 year, I would probably set my minimum really, really tight, and I'd probably set it to 348 on the dot or 347.99. Just to see if it will share it with me underneath Amazon, because sometimes Amazon will hog the price. So you might have to, go a penny below them to see. And then my max would probably be, honestly, since there's no higher cost, I'd probably just set it $5 to $10 higher just to see. But that's probably just a quick glance on this graph. That's probably what I would do. But obviously, since this price currently is at $264.99, we wouldn't be profitable at the Walmart cost of $244.99.
Right.
But let's say we had discounted gift cards. Let's say it was a Black Friday sale and we bought it for $174.99 and you could sell it for $250. Then yeah, you could do that and set it maybe a penny below Amazon. Or even at the same Amazon cost. So it's all about testing things out, seeing if you can get sales at the exact amount. But Amazon, generally, you might have to go a little bit below them to snag some sales from my experience. So I would probably go a penny below them and set a very tight minimum, because you don't want, obviously, the repricer to tank the price. And the whole point of setting a tight minimum is for that reason.
So if you have an item like this, it sells a lot. It's top 1%. This item is selling I think 5K per month the past month. Amazon's on this listing. They're owning the buy box most of the time. You're in this situation. So you're already in there. If you wouldn't buy this at 244 because it might be kind of risky. But let's say you're already in. According to Mike, he set a very tight min. You see the yo-yo of this, so you could actually set it around 350. And then he would set it $5 to $10 above the current buy box price, so maybe or the highest price, so maybe around like 370. And are there other factors, like what kind of rule would you put this on? There's all these different rules. Like what rule would you set the BQool rule on?
Rule based. I like using AI equalizer. It's a good happy medium between sales volume and profit, because it really just depends on the item. If you have a lot of stock and you want your volume to sell through, you can pick a more, repriced base rule where it will reprice down a little bit and you just set tighter minimums at whatever your given ROI you would want it to be. But it all really is relative to how much stock you have, where you're willing to drop your price down to, what the competitors are like. And since we only have 5 in stock, hypothetically, for this situation, I would probably just, keep it around the 347 range to 350 range and hope that Amazon goes back up after Black Friday sales. But if you really have to get rid of it, you can match their price now and try to get rid of them, but only if it was profitable.
So your advice would be, if you don't have a large quantity, and you could wait a little bit. You could use the AI equalizer, which gives you a good balance between sales and profits. So Mike, thanks for analyzing that, giving people really clear instructions of how they should set their min and max from your vast experience. So if you're watching this and you're interested, and you want to know more about how to set your min and max, where could you find the best cashback? Where could you find the credit cards with the 0% APR, then all this other information, when should you use a prep center, when you shouldn't use a prep center, when to use a VA, when should you not use a VA, what type of products to do, all of this valuable information. You can join the FBA Secrets Discord group. You can find all this information with like-minded sellers. And also, there's also a tier program as well if you want more access to Mike and get direct coaching, direct mentorship from him, and be part of his mastermind, part of his group as well. So you definitely can check that out as well. Mike, where can we find you? What's your socials? Where can people find you if they're interested, other than the Discord group?
Yeah, so if I'm pointing in the right direction, the TonaFBA, literally everywhere. YouTube, I'm very, I post a lot of content on Twitter. Instagram, YouTube. I'm starting to do a little bit more YouTube. I think that's one of my 2024 goals, is to start putting out more content there. TonaFBA, pretty much on all platforms. So shoot me a follow, join the Discord. On top of that, there's, I believe, like 3,000 members at this point within the first like 6 or 7 months I've had it. So it's growing rapidly, and there's just a lot of free value. And like Samuel said, paid mentorship. There's also a mastermind, a separate group that I run, which is more one-on-one access, video calls, one-on-one calls, onboarding calls, all sorts of stuff like that.
That's awesome. Thanks a lot today for your time, Mike. So for everybody, go follow TonaFBA. That's TonaFBA. See in the description below. And we'll see you guys next time. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you so much.